So if a lot of you guys are new to my channel, you probably don't know my history with certain game studios that I personally love a lot, right? Blizzard is my top company that absolutely destroyed me when they decided to partner with Activision. Now, BioWare, I would say, is number two. And BioWare is number two for a big reason. I loved every single one of the games that BioWare came out with. BioWare was one of those studios, in my opinion, that could not miss, right? I was just an absolute shill for BioWare, just like I was a shill for Blizzard. Unfortunately, BioWare of today is not what BioWare is of yesterday. We have an article here from That Park Place with a headline that reads, Dragon Age the Veilguard, game director who describes himself as a queerosexual, gendermancer, whatever the hell that is, claims that the game is inherently queer.
What the hell is even that?
Yes, ladies and gentlemen, because obviously when it comes to the marketing of Dragon Age, they're going to go, or at least try to go down the route of Larian Studios, where they're trying to do a Baldur's Gate 3 scenario where all they're going to do is advertise with how much gay sex that you can have in the game, because that's clearly what all the Dragon Age fans are looking for after having no Dragon Age for many years now. That's what you want to lead with. So unfortunately, I like I said, I was a huge Dragon Age fan. You guys who've been around the channel, you know that. I was a huge Mass Effect fan. Don't ever get me started talking about Mass Effect, because I would get highly upset at the way Mass Effect 3 ended, but that's a whole nother story. I was a huge fan of BioWare, and I really genuinely believe this company could do no wrong, but unfortunately, just like with most studios, they end up just going down the way of DEI, and it ruins everything that they touch. So let's get into this article, guys, from That Park Place. But of course, before we do, if you are new here, just consider hitting that subscribe button. I would greatly appreciate it, and like the video to push us out into that YouTube algorithm. It says Dragon Age the Veilguard game director who describes himself as a queerosexual gendermancer claims game is inherently queer. BioWare announced it is renaming its upcoming Dragon Age game from Dragon Age Dreadwolf to Dragon Age Veilguard. At the same time, it's been brought to public attention that the game's director is a man pretending to be a woman who supports Black Lives Matters. He's also believes the game is inherently queer. Now, is anybody shocked that I've also noticed, just really quick, I've noticed that a lot of these mainstream studios, what's happening is that a lot of these white guys, and I don't know if this person's white, okay? I'm just saying a lot of these guys are straight men who end up realizing that, hey, DEI is coming for their jobs, right? It's only a matter of time before they lose their jobs, and their jobs that they worked very hard to get, their careers. A lot of these guys, what they end up doing is they realize it's coming for them. So some of them end up going so extreme that they end up wanting to trans themselves, at least publicly anyway. They'll never do the full thing. They'll never go on pills. They'll never get surgery, but they'll put on a wig and they'll put on a dress if it keeps their career that they worked decades in order to attain. Because otherwise, what's going to end up happening is they're going to get replaced by someone who fits that mold, whether truthfully or not. So a lot of these guys, and especially white guys, they suddenly end up transing themselves because it's the only way for them to actually keep their jobs and stay relevant before DEI cuts them off. So then it says in a blog post titled, The Next Dragon Age Has a New Title, BioWare explained that the change in title is because they did not want to put focus on the enemy, but rather the player and his companions. The blog post detailed naturally the Dreadwolf still has an important part in this tale. Their stories and how you'll bring them together to save all of Thetis. We proudly introduce you to Dragon Age the Veilguard. Now, okay, ladies and gentlemen, I do not think that this game is going to be very good. And here's the reason why. It's not because of DEI. It's not because of wokeness. I just think that this game has been in a little bit of a development hell. And I just don't think anytime there is that much of a development hell happening with a particular video game, it only is going to end up bad for the player when the game finally comes out. I've never seen an example of a game being in development hell and essentially coming out on top. It's very few and far between. And I just don't think this particular BioWare has it in them to do it and pull it off. It says BioWare previously revealed that the Dreadwolf was Solus, one of the companions introduced in Dragon Age Inquisition. A cinematic from the game shared back in December 2022 detailed, I knew him as Solus, a thoughtful mage obsessed with dreams, but long ago he had a different name, Fenharl the Dreadwolf. Ancient elven god of lies or heroic rebel against tyranny, depending on which story you believe. In his final fight with the elven god, Solus imprisoned them and created a veil that split our world from the raw magic of the Fade. The cinematic continues, but now he wanted to tear down that veil and destroy the world, and we're the only ones who can stop him. Following this announcement, former World of Warcraft team lead Mark Kern, aka Grumps, wrote on X, BioWare Dragon Age has been renamed to Dragon Age: The Veilguard. New gameplay trailer to debut June 11th. I'm hoping for a great game free of modern politics. Now, Grums with the sarcasm here. So again, ladies and gentlemen, if you look at this picture here that Grums put out, let's open up the tweet here. It's pretty clear what he's trying to say, right? So he's trying to call to the fact that, hey, this is obviously going to be a game that is not going to be free from modern day, because there's literally modern day making the game, right? They even have the prototypical protected tweets that everybody knows what that means. They got the flags in the bio, they got the titles in the bio, they got everything under the sun. And if you notice, they even decide to put their sexual identity first instead of their actual game title first. So this is just another example of us having zero faith in what modern day gaming industry is capable of. I just don't think this is going to end very well for gamers. I think people, if they get excited for this, I really genuinely hope you are excited with like kind of like a stiff arm, if you catch my drift, because what's going to end up happening is, like me many years ago, you're going to end up severely disappointed. So I do hope that Dragon Age: The Veilguard is a good game, but ultimately I just don't see it. I don't see how this is going to end up being a good game when it's made by disingenuous people. But again, I've been wrong before. Maybe I'm wrong now. It says, while this information is being brought to light to a wider public by Grums, a developer story focused on Bush reveals his identity as a queer trans woman has indeed been injected into the game. Bush detailed, as a queer trans woman, I have a perspective on the games that not everyone has. Dragon Age has long been a place where LGBTQIA folks can see themselves represented respectfully. It's inherently very queer, and it's such a rare thing for marginalized communities to have representation where we feel proud and powerful in how we are depicted. I don't understand how it's a rare thing when it's literally everywhere. Like, that's all you ever see. I swear, these people think if they walk outside, they never see a single other LGBTQ representation anywhere, when it's literally in almost every TV show now, almost every movie, every single game is trying to push it too. It's asinine. Like, they're clearly lying, and it's ridiculous for them to try to say and pretend that they're marginalized when they have the entire freaking world at their disposal in terms of mainstream entertainment and media. So it's an obvious grift at this point, and I do not believe, whenever I see head director as a trans person, and we're seeing that a lot lately, it just shows me, like I said earlier in the video, that I think this person did that to themselves in order to maintain their job that they saw was essentially going to be axed if they don't trans themselves soon, or at least become some sort of diverse person, because straight white men are just not allowed in this industry. And I called it too. I said it was probably a white dude, but I didn't know. I did not know. But yes, it is a white dude pretending to be a female. So shocker, I'm not surprised. He then added that it's so deeply meaningful for so many. I often get emotional when I think about what it would have meant for a younger version of myself to see someone like her, you mean like him, in the game, and as a hero, no less. I hope we can be a safe place for our queer players to know that they are not alone, and they are brilliant and worthy, that they are not only welcome, but celebrated. Now, again, ladies and gentlemen, everybody knows that BioWare has made gay relationships before in Dragon Age. It wasn't super prominent, but it was there, absolutely. Let's not pretend like it wasn't. And that's not the center point. The center point is that Dragon Age from yesterday, while it did feature gay relationships, it was not something that felt forced, and it definitely wasn't something that felt like it was virtue signaling. It simply felt like they decided to add it into the game amongst other things and made it part of the game where it wasn't in your face. It's not like they had everything being shot at you. It's not like all the NPCs were like, hey, I'm gay, come do things for me. Like, that's not what it was, right? But the problem is now, modern day LGBTQ activism, it's the totally separate thing. It's all about putting it in your face nonstop. It's about yelling it in your face nonstop. So I can't help but think that even though they're going to include in this game what was already included in previous games, it's the way that they go about it that is different now. It's the way that they present it that is different now, and it's going to turn off a lot of people the way that they do it. So time will tell, whatever they end up doing it, whichever way, but I just don't believe it's going to be anything that's going to be proper representation like they try to say. The only representation that matters to them, just an FYI, when it comes to games like this, the only representation that matters to them is absolute dominance. That's what it is. They don't want just slight representation. They don't want anything. They want complete and utter dominance. It says Bush also makes it clear that he is indeed guiding the game to adhere to this vision. Game directors are sometimes thought of as big personalities who are singularly responsible responsible for the purity of their creative vision. But for me, it's really about being a steward for the vision that we as a team have collectively defined. I get a high-level view of everything as it's coming together and can steer the project as it does, but ultimately it's about empowering people to work together, play with ideas, offer critiques, and make decisions, all to help create a cohesive experience for the player, he said. So again, guys, ultimately, we're going to see what happens as time goes on. But in terms of me having faith about a modern day BioWare game, I can't exactly say I have much faith, especially after what happened with Anthem. And we won't even talk about that. So anyway, guys, thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you did enjoy. And if you did, consider leaving me a subscribe. I would greatly appreciate it. Don't forget to like the video, comment, let me know what you thought. And I'll see you guys on the next one. Hypnotic out.